Good evening, everyone. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we get roll call, please?
Supervisor McGlasson?
Here.
Councilwoman Campbell?
Present.
Councilman Ruthven?
Here.
And Councilman Tempori and Councilman Boyd will not be present tonight.
No. So Councilman Boyd is actually up in Washington, or down in Washington, at a seminar for water issues. So he will come back and tell us all about what he's learning in Washington this week. And Councilman Tempori had parent-teacher conferences. So, all right. Our first item on the agenda is with our Highway Superintendent, Richie Othmer. You have a bunch of things on tonight.
Hello. Okay, like you said, I have a bunch of stuff here. I'll go over them one by one.
Yep, whatever you want to start with.
Okay. All right, the first item on the agenda is a request for a three-way stop sign at Echo and Montrose Road. And right now, I'm recommending that we do this on a provisional basis for a year, because we did something similar like this on Putnam Drive a couple of years ago, and it didn't work out because of the hills, and we're concerned about my snowplows stopping. And so right now, they requested a four-way, but we're not going to put one going up the hill, just down the hill. There's a small flat area there where I think the trucks can stop safely. I requested from the police department, from Lieutenant Flynn, an accident report, and they were able to go back 17 years, and there were 7 recorded accidents at Echo and Montrose, and that was in a 17-year period. So just about every 2 years there was an accident. I wouldn't call it chronic, but it is a little congested there. So right now I recommend that we approve this, but I ask that we do it on a one-year provisional and we just revisit it. If everything's working out fine, we fly with it. But I know when we had to reverse the one on Putnam Drive, it caused a lot of heartache with the residents. And it's tough because once you put one on a hill like Echo, then everybody wants one at their corner, and then it just it creates like a ripple effect. And you know, basically, it's people just drive too fast, and people text when they're driving. And I watch a lot in Lake Carmel, and I'm actually working now. There's a new 25-mile-an-hour speed limit in New York State for the lowest speed limit you can set, but it's got to be in certain areas. So I wanted to attend a Lake Carmel Parks Department meeting and see if they would be interested in creating like a Lake District speed limit. But that's going to be up to them. And I know I have interest from the Sagamore Lake community and possibly Lake Tibet. So that's something we're going to work on in the future. So my recommendation is to put the stop sign in on a one-year provisional basis to revisit. Okay.
Do we, well, hold on, that's the first one. It's mine anymore.
You want to read them as we go, or
I
let
think-
him go through everything and just do
I
them all?
think we should do them as we go.
Okay.
Is there any public comment? No? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution authorizing a stop sign at the intersection of Echo and Montrose Road. Whereas the town board of the town of Kent has received a letter dated March 4th, 2023, requesting the placement of a three-way stop at the intersection of Echo and Montrose Road, and whereas the town of Kent Highway Superintendent has recommended the provisional one-year placement of a three-way stop at the intersection of Echo and Montrose Road, and whereas the town board wishes to follow the recommendation of the highway superintendent, now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the provisional placement of three-way stop signs at the above referenced location for 1 year. I make this motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, my second item is a town right-of-way issue on Gray Oaks Drive. We have residents there, and they have to replace a retaining wall that's been there forever, and it's falling down. It's got to be replaced. The problem is, when I went to measure, the building inspector went out to issue the building permit, but the right-of-ways weren't correct. And when I went out to actually field measure the road is 5 foot off of where it actually should be. So I run into problems like this in Lake Carmel a lot, and I met with Nick Chappis at Inside Engineering. He's the senior surveyor, and he's been doing surveying in Kent. He grew up here forever, and the information he passed to me was that when Lake Carmel was incorporated in the 1930s, they laid out the subdivision, the lots were laid out, the roads were laid out. But people, it was a lake community. People came up and, Uncle Harry was a bricklayer and he built the road that they put their house on and so on and so forth. The problem was, once they built a lot of the roads, they never did an as-built survey. So then I wasn't around in the 1930s, but I know in my lifetime doing construction in Putnam County, I remember doing foundations with my father as a kid, and we were measuring off of trees down in Mahopac and saying, all right, this tree, and so anyway, there's a lot of errors there. And Nick had recommended, there's a legal remedy called a revocable license. And I called Nancy at her office, and they're very familiar with this. And what it does, these people, if they can't get their building permit to replace this wall, it's going to cause a lot of hardship for them. It's been there for 50 years, and they need to rebuild the wall as it is because their property, the driveway is right at the wall level, and the road's not where it should be. So with this revocable license, it allows the town allows the people to rebuild the wall in the same exact spot in the right of way. And it doesn't convey any land to them. I mean, our only other choice, if you want to spend a few $1 million and resurvey every road in Lake Carmel, which I don't think we want to do, and after speaking to town council, I found out you guys just did this in Putt Lake.
Yes.
For two, it's all the old lake communities in the county, Secor, Putt Lake, Lake Peekskill. It's a common problem, and I recommend that we grant this license to the residents, and then the residents can keep this, so this way, when they go to sell their house or whatever, or pass it on, they have verification that everything is in order. Because the other thing is, banks nowadays, if you go to refinance, they'll come out and they look at the survey, and they're going to say you're encroaching in the town right away, and they won't give the people their money, and it's a hardship. So this is a great remedy, and I recommend that the board approve this for these local residents.
And
I just-
especially
I'm
here
sorry.
because the highway superintendent was able to confirm that it doesn't impact the roadway in any way whatsoever, and the revocable license is exactly that, revocable, so.
Right, and just so that we're clear, for the other residents to know, this is on a per resident basis, so that tonight we're passing it for only one residence. This isn't like an automatic blanket for everyone. This
This
for-
was an innocent error.
Yep.
There's some obnoxious
For one
encroachments
address.
out there.
Just for one resident.
Yep,
So my recommendation is to pass this for these people.
okay. Any public comment? Anyone?
Want to read this one in?
Okay. I make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing revocable license agreement with Bruce Farrell and Adelaide Farrell. Whereas Bruce Farrell and Adelaide Farrell are the owners of premises situated in Lake Carmel, known as 37 Gray Oaks Court, Carmel, New York, and designated as tax map number 33.41-1-11, the premises, on the Town of Kent assessment roll. And whereas the premises fronts on Gray Oaks Court, a town road, and whereas Mr. and Mrs. Farrell have constructed a retaining wall within the town's right-of-way, and whereas the town highway superintendent has opined that the retaining wall does not obstruct Gray Oaks Court, and that it is in the best interest of the town for the wall to remain, and whereas the town wishes to grant a revocable license to Mr. and Mrs. Farrell to permit the retaining wall to remain, subject to the terms of such license agreement, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute a license agreement with Mr. Farrell and Mrs. Farrell in a form suitable to the town supervisor and the town attorney, consistent with the foregoing, and to execute any and all other documents as may be necessary to give full effect to this resolution. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next.
Okay, item number 3, for the next resolution, my conference with the town supervisor last week, and I had no standards for the seasonal workers' pay with the highway department. I have shotgun riders in the winter, I have people in the summer that work for me. And I have some of the kids start like junior in high school, and I have them back, they're a senior in college, and they deserve different rates of pay. I start at the minimum wage, the legal minimum wage, and as they get more skilled, some of them I don't invite them back. We work with a lot of heavy equipment, you can get killed. So if I see a young person is not capable, I really don't want them around the equipment. And I've had some young girls from Carmel High School that are great with computers, that have put my records, they did electronic files, which I'm not capable of. I'm in another century, but I have all different levels of skill. So anyway, I want to standardize the seasonal worker pay for the highway department. I know Supervisor McGlasson was concerned about it, because before I was kind of doing it willy-nilly, and I searched and there was nothing written on it. So I would feel more comfortable if we had these levels of pay standardized, and I would have the backing of the board.
So, I agree with this 100%. My only concern is we have other departments with seasonal laborers also. Should we make sure that we do a seasonal scale for the entire town all at one time? And right now, we're reading this specifically for the highway department seasonal workers. Could we table this just for our next meeting, and then we'll just make sure we get it all organized with everybody
You're
else?
saying you want to do the Parks Department?
Yeah, I think
Well, I don't
everybody
think the
should be in
skills
the
are
same.
comparable, because if I have someone chaining a backhoe to a trailer, it's different than mowing a lawn, in the Parks Department.
So no, let's back up. I'm not talking skill level. You'll have guys that are skilled for highway. They learn those skills through highway.
Yes.
But the same theory applies for parks. If they come back year after year, they should be able to go up a scale also. And I'm not saying that their skills in parks is the same as the skills in highway, but the scale should be the same for the returning people year after year.
Well, I don't automatically promote them just because they return for a second year.
Yeah, this is a
I
discussion
do
with
it
the highway superintendent.
by
So
the
this
performance.
is a level promotion based on skill, not on years returning?
It works most of the time on coming back the next year. On a few occasions, I don't have the people back again because I don't want them getting killed. I've had some people back where they've leveled off and they're not going to go any further, and I will only let them do flagging. I'm not going to let them chain it back to a trailer or I got some kids that are 20 years old that can break blacktop, and in the summertime I get hammered with people taking comp time and vacation. We only have 20 guys. The highway department used to have 39 people. And when I have, in the summertime, when people are away on comp time or off or on vacation time, I'll have some days I'll have 10 people show up for work, and I got a stack of complaints like this. So I need these workers. So
What's
think we should just set a different-
what's the title of the workers typically? What are they titled?
Are they sub?
Hey, you. No, sorry.
They're sub,
No,
they're sub laborers.
Are they laborers, the highway
laborers, but
highway
some-
maintenance workers,
No,
MEOs?
they're sub laborers.
They're sub-laborers, but I have one kid that's an all-star. This kid, he's a great kid. And so anyway, I don't think it's comparable with the other, it's not comparable to lifeguards. It's not comparable with the beach workers. And that my lowest level is the minimum wage, and the highest level is the same as that they get with the sanitation department workers. That's what they get per hour.
subs.
And they show up out of nowhere. I go in there, I'll see 3 new faces with the sanitation subs. I have no idea who they are. And that'll be their first day, and they're getting the highest rate of pay. And meanwhile, I'll have a kid that's been with me for 3 years, and he's wondering why this guy coming in, to throw garbage cans in the truck, and he's getting, $7 more an hour than he is. So I think the highway department level should stand alone.
I
But-
think we would have to do different scales for different, parks and.
I agree. We can do highway. I just think it's
But I
a
think,
good
I think it's a good
idea.
idea, but I think it would have to be a different
I think we should do it for
scale.
parks, and we should look into, our situation in sanitation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go with it then.
Thank you, Chris, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as long as the criteria for advancing through the levels are up to the supervisor, we could in principle have consistent levels, but just have the decisions about whether or not to move workers up be at the discretion of those who hire them.
It's almost like at each level, we should have a little bit of a standard that you have to get to level 2.
I
You
do.
talk about somebody that plateaus, they can plateau at level 2 and be there for 3 years. They haven't made it to the next skill level to get to level 3 or level 4.
I do it by, I mean, I had a Carmel High School girl that was a computer whiz, and just because this guy can pick up 300 pounds, I don't think she should be getting less money. I mean, she should be getting paid for her brain, and she straightened all my records out, you know, and like I said, I'm not capable of doing it, but she organized everything with spreadsheets. I can go back to the year 2000 and see how much sand we ordered, and how much salt we ordered, you know, and how much snow we had that year. And these are all on the computer now, so, I mean, I do it by, not just muscle, but brain too.
All right.
You know, if I say, is that trailer ready to move out? I can trust this person, you know, knowing they did it correctly.
Everybody has different skills and they're good at different things.
So,
All right, I'd like to make a motion to, is there any public comment on this? All right, I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution setting a pay scale for seasonal workers for the highway department. Whereas the town of Kent is seeking to set a salary scale for the town of Kent Highway Department seasonal workers, and whereas Richard Odfner, the town of Kent Highway Superintendent, has formulated a pay scale for seasonal employees as further described on the pay scale annexed here to and incorporated herein by reference, and whereas the town board believes it is in the best interests of the town to accept the highway superintendent's recommendation, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby sets the pay scale for seasonal workers for the town of Kent Highway Department as further described on the pay scale annexed here to, and be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I make this motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
thank you very much. My next item, the salt, Councilwoman Campbell and I are working on a grant to get money for a salt barn, a wooden salt barn over at the 301 garage. My first year in office, I was able to, actually, Maureen Fleming and I were able to negotiate and get a temporary tent over there, a tarp set on concrete blocks, just to cover our supply over there because they didn't want it leaching into the reservoir. So we had the cell tower people acquiesced, and they funded that and they put it up, but it's not going to last forever. And Ann had told me there's grants out there for solid buildings. I contacted the DEP. They have no problem with it. We just have to follow the same exact footprint of the structure that's there right now. So Ann had requested, I went out to Wheeler Builders. They did the bridge that we did with the county in Gypsy
Yep.
Trail. They're a timber bridge and building company from South Dakota, and they're on the state list, they're on all the lists. So I gave them the dimensions, I gave them the specs, and Ann wanted a ballpark, so we know for the, did you get my email?
Yes. Yes.
So they're sending me back a rough estimate is about $307,000, and that's with a concrete foundation, the wood timbers, the framing, the roof, and everything else. So I mean, I automatically upped it to $325,000, and I don't know how much money are available in these grants?
The limit on this water quality improvement grant for salt sheds is $500,000.
Oh.
But it is a 50% match, so if we vote to go after it, we'll apply, but we would need to work out, if we're fortunate enough to get the funding, we have to work out how the rest of it would be funded. So that's a conversation that the board would have to have, whether that would go under ARPA or bond or CHIPS or something else, right? So,
We can provide a lot of in-house, will they accept in-house labor? Like if we're digging
to
the
help make
footings,
the
I
match,
mean, that's-
absolutely, yes,
So that's, I can make up a lot with that.
right.
The same way we did with the new building. Okay, so you and I are going to proceed with this?
Well, I'd like to make a motion, I don't know if we have a formal resolution on this, but I move that we
We
go ahead
got a
and
public comment.
get some comment on it, and then we can think about whether we want to vote on it, sorry. You can tell I'm excited about it.
What exactly is the current lifespan of the current salt
Tent.
shed there now? How many,
Not long.
how many years, what's not long?
It's a tarp.
I know.
It's a
double.
tarp, I don't know, 10, I can look it up. It's not real long, it's got rips in it now that we have duct tape on.
Okay. If you could look up that information, that would be great. I'd like to know how much of a lifespan there is still.
But the main thing, more than the cover, is the mafia block in the bottom, because they leach. Even though we dug them into the ground, there's seams, and then what the DEP is concerned about is the leaching of the salt. So more importantly, Sue, than the cover is the foundation, because once we put the foundation in, it's tight. And, you know, when you get these rains and everything else, you're not gonna get the salt. You know, the reservoir's right across the street, so, I mean, the predominant feature is the cover, but the more important part is the foundation.
That's not what you explained in the beginning.
No, I know, that's fine, I get it.
The footprint of this, I guess I gave it back, of the.
You want it back?
No, is the footprint would sit right on the same dimensions of the existing?
It's got to.
It has to,
It's got to because of the DEP regs, it's got to sit exactly there.
okay.
And we can get a decent, a solid built wooden barn. Did you guys get the email I sent you with the,
Ann and I did.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you?
it's a stout building, and we can even get an overhang off to one side to keep the loader under cover. So, I mean, it's for the future. It's really for the future of the town.
And
So-
all we're voting on tonight is to go out for the grant. So we're not approving anything, we're just approving to let the grant firm go and apply for the grant.
Okay,
Ann is the leader on this, so I'm gonna follow
No, that's
whatever you
correct.
tell me.
Yeah, that's correct.
And a couple of highway things. I was up in Albany for the advocacy day with Peter Harcum and Matt Slater, I think is the news told me. Yeah, it is Matt Slater. I met with them, and the cost of materials, blacktop, with the fuel and everything increased, went up 22% in the last year. So we went to meet with all our representatives, and because the governor was not going to increase the chips from last year, but it looks like the state assembly and the state legislature want to increase it, so they're on our side. It hasn't, the state budget hasn't been done yet, but they want to increase it as a 22% to stay with the rate of inflation, because last year, for every mile of road we paved, right now I can only pave 78% of those roads for the same cost. So we're trying to bring that back up to 100%. And that's it for me. The last thing I'm gonna hang out, because I know you are next, and with about the South Lake, with the Lake Louise Bridge, the Bridge of New York. So I'm here to support you. And I'll let him explain, but I'm there to support him with that.
Okay.
So before we move on, is there any more public comment about the possibility of applying for this grant for the salt shed? Okay, so I move that we go ahead and ask our grant firm to submit that application.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Now I invite Neil Toman, who is the interim director of Putnam County Soil and Water, to talk to us about our South Lake Dam. How else
Would
do I
it,
do
would it be better on this side angled out so the audience can see it a little bit? On this side?
Yeah.
Neil, put it on this side of you're gonna block Nancy in, but
That's okay.
put it over here and face it out so they can see it. I think you got everybody in the room here to hear you tonight, not us.
So, yeah, I'm Neil Toman, I'm the interim director
You go sit over there so you can see it.
I'm very familiar.
of water and Putnam County Highways.
Neil, you're gonna have to do it into the microphone the whole time so everybody out on TV land can hear what you have to say.
The images.
Are you getting the full picture of that, all right? Okay.
Oh, maybe I have them.
It should be in the backup.
You guys wanna go over and see this from the front, hear what he's gonna say?
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
We're gonna come sit
I
out
think it's
there.
the same pictures you have in your packet.
That's what I thought.
They're bigger.
I
Oh, it's
think-
in our packet?
It's this.
Yeah, and we made them color so you can see
Oh,
the
nice.
letters. Unless he's gonna show something else, but those two pictures look like. they're good.
Thank you for that.
I don't have colors.
I have
Oh, yeah,
colors,
there you go.
look at mine.
I was looking in the back.
But you can change your seat.
Can you take the microphone with them? You can take the
Take it
microphone.
right off with you.
Take it with you.
I've got one other that I'm gonna pass around up front, and then we'll take it and pass it to the crowd. This is just an overhead.
We have,
I don't know if you have this
Copy.
one.
I don't-
Yeah, I just sort of
we don't
made
have
that
that one.
today. So, I'm just gonna back up for a second, just talk about how we got here. The situation at South Lake is such, and I know a lot of you probably know this. We have the three dams, which are called the lower, middle, and upper. And the town of Kent owns the lower dam. And Putnam County owns the middle and the upper dam. So every 10 years, dam owners are required to file what is referred to as an EA, which is an engineer's assessment. And it's filed with the DEC, and it's exactly what it sounds like. What they're asking you to do is assess the condition of your dam. And we're coming up on 10 years since the last one. So I was asked by the county about a year ago to take a look at our dam. I think Putnam County has 13, roughly, depending on which ones they consider commissioned or non-commissioned. And these two, the middle and the upper dam at South Lake, stood out because I got wind of the project at Louise Street, or the Louise Crossing.
the lower dam.
Right, and it's my understanding that you've had a grant, or you've had grant money to fix that,
Bridge, New York, I believe it is.
Bridge New York, to repair that lower
Yes.
road with the dam and the drop basin and the culvert. So when I came on board, which wasn't more than a year ago, that sort of stuck out to me, because with our next round of EAs coming up, it was time, I think, to try and coordinate our efforts a little bit. So I think that's a good way to think about this project. It's really a coordination between the town of Kent and Putnam County, because since all the streams are in succession, we're all very much in the same boat. And your dam, the town of Kent's dam is rated as a B, which is considered an intermediate hazard dam, which translates into, the DEC sees it as having, if it fails, possibly causing considerable property damage, as opposed to an A, which means that it would be horrible, but it wouldn't be any real serious property damage. So those are the two categories. And then you go to C. A C is the potential of having serious property damage or loss of life. So we're all Bs here. And the position of the county, I think for several reasons, that we don't want to be Bs. We want to be As, which is a minimal hazard, or we want to be a D, which is decommissioned. So this is where the county is with this right now, and I guess that's what I've asked to come and talk to you about. And we are in the process of engaging Burton and LaJudas. Barton and LaJudas, who is the engineers for the lower project. And what we're going to try and do is get a better number, get a better equation for the engineers to work with for the lowermost dam. Because right now, as you can, okay, so right now, at the upper and middle dam, you don't have anything that you would recognize as a spillway, or and nothing. Right in here, we have some busted old corrugated pipes. Down below, we have a sort of where what little there is of a dam has been breached and packed in with beaver activity. So we don't have a great idea under a certain type of rain event how these two upper dams are going to behave. And that makes it difficult for the Kent side of the project to really get a good look at what to do. They could take a guess, but so the coordination here, what the county is getting out of this is we don't want to do EAs on any more of these. If I can get these reclassified from Bs to an A, I don't have to do a 10-year assessment. Every 10 years, do another assessment for another $20,000, $30,000. Thank you very much. I would rather have the dams be configured so that the flow is far more predictable and the liabilities and the hazard potential is down to an A or possibly a D grade. So that's, and that's sort of what we get out of it, and I think what the town of Kent gets out of it is you get better numbers. You get more accurate numbers for your engineers to calculate what's called the curve number. And the curve number is, the engineers, they assess what the drainage area. That's the counterintuitive. It's the uphill, the upstream area. And what they do is they calculate everything that's coming in, how much is going to penetrate, and how much is going to have to go through this system. And that boils down to a bunch of different equations, and it comes down to a curve number, and that's what they call it in the EA. And you want that number to be as accurate as possible so that you can assess your situation and build a good dam. So, and I thought I should have led with this, was the first thing we spoke to the engineers about was, and this is the delicate part, this is the 900-pound gorilla with this project, is for people living on the lake, what is it going to do to the level of the lake? And we've done, the first thing we told the engineers was the middle section, the upper section is going to have to come down. And that's something that we have to work out with the DEP and the DEC and the Office of General Services. But I have it on, let's call it a handshake, that they'd be okay with us draining the uppermost section down. So instead of having a 3-tiered system, you'll have 2. You'll have the upper and the middle will essentially be the same elevation, and then a small drop into the lower elevation. So it simplifies everything. It simplifies the dynamic of the whole system. And we've said the thing, I mean, what we need to know, we need to be able to give guarantees that that middle level, where if you live on the middle section of this system, it's going to have seasonal fluctuations. I don't think anybody can guarantee that it's going to be exactly the same. It's going to have seasonal fluctuations, and there's still going to be beaver activity. But the whole idea behind this is to lower the liabilities for the county, get a nice livable level for the people living on the middle, and for the town to get a good solid calculation for what they need to do to build up the lowermost dam.
What's the next process moving forward?
We have Barton and Lujotis are working on, we've given them the go-ahead to we've got a scope of work. They're going to take our old EAs and essentially crunch the numbers and give us a set of plans. And so far, it's not a complicated project. You're looking at, this is actually the area, this is the lowest area right here. And it's 1.5 to 2 feet below this. It's not a huge drop. Matter of fact, this whole stretch barely qualifies as a dam under the DEC. So in armoring. We were hoping to avoid pouring any concrete, but we're gonna, again, I don't know enough yet, but this is the idea. Something simple, low maintenance, so it can carry the requisite amount of water given. It's got to be 150%, Rich, what do they say? 150% of a 100-year flood. So they take a 100-year flood, they calculate how much water is going to have to get through there, and that number is X. They say, well, then your opening has to be big enough to accommodate 150% of that number, so that there's almost no possibility that this thing is going to ever overtop anywhere else except from where it's supposed to go through.
Right, so just going back to, you've authorized them to go ahead and start analyzing it, working on it.
Correct. We need them to start working on the calculations and a design, because I can't go to I have some permitting to do here, which is okay.
But I kind of want to know, for the public's benefit, where the next phase of presentation comes in, when, you're obviously going to get a design and have to come back and talk to the public again
Sure.
at some point here. So
Absolutely.
I think it's important that the people that are here know the process and know what they're going to see moving forward.
Okay, we're probably looking into I would imagine we'd see, where are we now, March? I'm hoping to have something to present, say probably towards the middle of the summer, maybe July or August. It's not a complicated build. So I'm hoping that maybe if we can get something back to the town in the middle of the summer.
So I understand that Barton and the Judas are working for us at the town on the lower dam and working consecutively. Do the two projects, does this project hold Richie's project up at all? Because, you don't have to come up, Richie, what's the timeline on your project? When do they?
We're starting construction about a year from this May.
Okay, so
We're in the design
you're a year out from this coming May.
We're in the design
Okay.
phase right now for the bridge. The bridge is ready to collapse. The bridge is in horrible shape. It's a danger. I'm even thinking of just putting signs up, making it a one-lane bridge right now, because it's really, I mean, it's a disgrace. But this meeting, when we met with the county, we took care of the middle spillway. I mean, the beavers, they basically have Home Depot there, because the whole dam is full of saplings. And we're there 10 times a year cleaning the spillway out between the upper lake and the middle lake. So what I didn't want to see, which I see happening in public projects over time, is we build a new bridge and a new dam on Lake Louise, and then they find out what they have to do is not compatible with what we do.
And that's my question. How does this timeline play out to him?
That's
You-
exactly-
Not
we-
gonna hold us up.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if your study is done and you know your numbers, you're gonna have them ready before the year from May from now, before his engineering,
We
your
have to.
engineering's gonna be
Yeah.
started. We gotta get those,
We
they have
have
to be
to. And
consecutive, they
that-
have to be working together.
You're right, thank you, Chris. Yes, that's the reason for doing this. I mean, that's part of the reason we want to do this. We want to fix our situation before you invest any time and money into your dam, because
Since we received our grant a year and a half ago, I've been sending correspondence to the county with no answer. In January we met, as soon as Tom Sherry took over, we're on top of this, because you gotta design them together.
Okay.
But we
Yeah.
can't hold ours up, because that bridge is dangerous.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, and the county's certainly aware of that, and we have every intention of moving this along as quickly as possible, because we understand it is time sensitive.
Thank you.
And I think the only other thing to add is, in the middle dam, the one improvement that I'm gonna ask them to make is that it seems like the middle dam is where we have most of the beaver activity, and it's in there a little ways now. So, from when I've been in there. All three, okay. Maybe it doesn't.
But we got it,
Wait,
guys.
Okay.
you have to come, we can't, you have to come up here, because then at home they can't hear anything.
Okay.
Because the way this is going now doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, hold on. Because you put up.
State your name into the microphone, please.
Three photographs
see it.
right? This is what?
State your name in the microphone.
I'm sorry, they need to check in.
Chris Gillespie. Okay, this is what? This is the swamp?
That's the middle section, and then up top, that's the upper section. That's the
This is
upper,
the swamp.
okay?
Okay, over here would be the old dump.
Rescue.
Yes. Would be
Is it?
here, right? So this is the back, this is this, and this is the isthmus between the second, that would be South Lake and Lake Louise.
Between the middle section and the lower section.
Okay. Because looking at that, I have no idea what this was. These two look almost exactly the same. So I have no idea. Now, the idea now is to lower this lake,
No, lower the upper one, and maintain the middle one.
maintain this, lower this.
Correct.
Okay.
Can you just hold this while you talk, just so that people at home?
Okay, hold on.
Is it reaching?
Here, I can get the.
Take the one off
Get
the
the other
podium.
one. Can we,
Okay, so you lower that.
The uppermost one.
Right, okay. The difference in elevation between this or this and that, how much is that?
That's
Substantial.
roughly 4 feet,
It's probably 5 or better.
judging by the topography that we looked at. I'm getting.
Because I looked out from my
Some
house.
places it's not along that berm, those lower spots where that is going across.
This area here, I identify as the isthmus, because that's what it is. And you're talking about putting one dam here, when there's 4 spillways off that lake. At least 4. Because,
There are 4 places.
Okay.
There could be more than that. That's the most obvious place where the water's making its way through. Thank you.
well, once the, what do you call it, once the original spillways got clogged, for whatever reason, or they collapsed. Okay, once those spillways collapsed or whatever happened to them, the corrugated pipe, the water had to find a way to go. So it went out in other areas, right? Am I correct here?
There's one, I hope we're talking about the same area. There's a small concrete spillway, 10, 12 feet wide, between the middle and the upper dam that the beavers constantly clog up. It's on,
That's between the lower and the.
yeah, it's,
No, that's the.
No, this is
Yeah,
the
one of
swamp area,
okay.
this is the
And
second.
here's the road here, the peninsula you call
That's
it.
coming around this way. The road
Okay.
ends right there.
Then there's something in here that we're constantly cleaning out.
No, you're looking at this.
It's this one.
That's
It's
this
here,
one.
which is only about,
Right on the turn in the road, that's where the.
Yes, that's what we're-
That's where the.
That's right, you're right.
Yeah.
okay, but that spillway there, where there's the corrugated pipe that's gone, and there's concrete,
There's a concrete spillway, yeah.
right, and the interior of that is the corrugated pipe that's gone.
It's probably rotted out.
Yeah, okay,
And what happens is I get calls because it floods, oh, yeah, I can see the road now, I'm sorry, I apologize. It just floods this whole road. It builds up in the upper dam, the upper lake, and it just floods this whole road. And then once I have to get the little machine down there, we clean that out, and we lower that whole area. But then today, the Lake Louise pipe, where we built the beaver cage, we cleaned that out today. That was clogged up again. I mean, we're there 10, 12 times a year, cleaning both of them out.
okay,
But
okay.
it's this one right here.
Okay, but now, the Lake Louise one, that's the one that's projected to be done next May.
Yes, it's in the design phase right now.
Okay, so what happens, just for the sake of argument, what happens when that goes in, the plan with the other 2, at that point?
Well, we want to coordinate both projects because I didn't want to construct, the lower one is the big project. That's the major project.
Right now it is.
Well, these are
Okay,
much smaller.
I understand
And I
that.
didn't want to do that bridge and then have you guys come to deal with this and they go, oh, we should have made this, the spillway 10 feet wider,
Okay, the reason I bring this up,
No, it's fine.
okay, the reason I bring this up is anything happens here or on the on the upper or the middle, right? Anything happens there, no damage to property until it gets to the Lake Louise Lake. And then I'm in the pathway.
Yeah, you live below Lake Louise?
I'm the first house, the yellow house.
You can get killed, you can get killed.
The only thing that's saving me there is the lay of the land. Because it's lower at the dam, at the spillway on Lake Louise, than it is right next to my mailbox. Only slightly, but enough to make a difference. Because when we get heavy rain in the spring and the lake goes, both lakes in the back get high, that water comes over the road and has in the past.
Oh, yeah, no,
But the only thing that saves me is it goes down into where you replaced on Ken Shaw.
Yes.
Yeah, on Ken Shaw Drive. It goes down there.
That's all done. We did it.
Right, but that's the only thing that saves my house is the lay of the land, that the water will come up over the road and go in that direction. So,
So what they want to do with the design, they're gonna do a mathematical study of hydraulics. So the output keeps the surrounding area safe, and it equalizes with the input of water, because there's a lot of feeder streams coming in there from up north, and that, am I correct in saying
That's
that?
the drainage area. That's
They're trying to balance it out, because right now, it's not balanced, it's.
okay.
Right.
My question,
The bridge on Lake Louise is undermined. If you go to Lake Shore Road, you look up at the Lake Louise Bridge, I mean, it's all undermined. It's a pretty serious.
yeah, I know, what do you call it? That's all washed away underneath.
That's a
I know.
public safety.
Well, I know because I used to clean that myself before you put the beaver cage on.
These things were built in the 1930s. They haven't been touched. They're almost 100 years old.
Well, I used to go under there and pull everything out so that the flow of water would go because it'd get that high.
We made the beaver cage.
Yeah, but the beaver's not stupid. I mean, you know, he just figured out that all I have to do is just keep putting it in there. Eventually it'll block up.
Hire a couple for seasonal workers.
Well, well, they only work the night shift. That's the problem. So, is the elevation on the highest, that elevation there, on the swamp, I call it, how much higher is that than the middle lake? We know that the Lake Louise Lake is about 4 feet lower. Between the three of them, it's tiered, yes?
There's three-tier system that we're trying
It's like a lock system.
Right,
Yeah.
and we're trying to eliminate one of those three tiers.
So,
What I envision is when you go over 311 in Lake Carmel, and you're heading toward 84, you have the cove with the pipe, you know how the main
Okay,
form of Lake
okay,
Carmel,
okay.
As you're going over towards 684,
Yeah.
the left side of Lake Carmel,
Yeah,
the causeway.
that level goes up and down.
And then the other thing we talk about is this whole causeway, when you talk, I was talking to a lot of the old timers, Lou Tacaro lives in this stuff.
Yeah.
They said this used to be part of their walking trail.
Yeah, we used to walk through
And
there.
we want to fix that up, so it's part of your lake walking trail, and
That's the longer-term look at it, and also, I mean, trees on dams are generally frowned upon by the DEC.
Oh, yeah.
anyway, So they're all.
plus it's building material for the beavers, I'm not even,
No, and just
They
as
just
a
go
matter,
right there.
as a matter of policy, they would rather not have trees on these dams. So,
That was spoken about in the meeting.
right, so I don't think you're gonna get much pushback from the DEC if you wanna take out trees and build walkways.
No, plus the people that live around the lake, you can make that usable for a
Absolutely,
walking trail.
absolutely better utility at the end when we're done. But I think I want to squarely answer the first question that started all of this, is that I don't have any intention of holding you up. I want to give you more to work with when you get to the point where you have to build something. So we're trying.
No, this makes perfect sense, there's no bad intentions here whatsoever.
No, believe me, that's not I'm just trying to figure out how it went, because I'm sitting back there and I have no idea what I'm looking at.
I was with you, I was like,
You know, to me, it's the swamp, the middle lake, and the lake I live in.
Well, the road to the right there, on that upper swamp area, fills up, that road floods.
Okay.
It's on the water.
So we'll come back in the next, I mean, this is good. I mean, we'll come back next time with, you know, this is my first time here. Next time we'll come with PowerPoint. We can come, I've got lots of photos, and we'll reference it, what is it, the swamp, the middle, and what's your name?
The dam is way down.
Where I live.
Where you live. So we'll call it the swamp, the middle, and
where he lives.
where he lives. Okay, and that's the way we'll reference the
Okay.
water bodies moving forward.
But you're gonna, the idea now is to lower this, right? The swamp. Lower the
With lower.
So just to be clear, I want to clarify this. They plan on a controlled breach of the dam between the swamp and the middle lake. They're going to breach that.
Right.
You're gonna just, it's just gonna be dug out.
The upper and middle will be the same height.
So you're going to end up with two
There's
lake
not that
levels.
much difference between the upper and the middle, is there?
And then,
Height-wise?
No, that's
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
that's
You're
how
not
it,
gonna
Enough that floods that road, when we clear that spillway out, that road, the water goes right off the road.
right,
anyway.
which is
so,
part
so
of,
now, just to keep clarifying, now with the swamp and the middle lake at the same level, they're going to engineer a spillway that can accommodate the entire flow of that water for, what'd you say, the 150-year storm?
150% of
150 of the
flood.
100, to be able to go over without it washing away the dam, I guess is the point.
The end result, what we're looking for is a much more predictable and consistent pattern of water going through this system.
Okay, because it's my understanding, or what I've noticed, and I could be 100% wrong, that swamp, right? The level of that swamp is more controlled by precipitation than inflow of springs. The middle lake, which is South Lake, right? Is that, the middle lake is South Lake, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, that has springs in it, as far as I know, and Lake Louise has springs in it. Am I,
Yeah.
I'm not 100% here,
Rocks and springs, the water.
Right.
but the swamp, even you lower that, right, it's not really gonna affect the water level in the other two, that much.
I don't think so. You're gonna have a lot more absorption area.
Yeah.
And there's not gonna be a breach of the middle, right?
That's where they're going to put in a new spillway system that's going to be able to meet the standards that the DEC wants to have on there. In the middle dam, where I believe the middle dam is where he has the beaver issues right next to the road all the time.
And the lower pipe on the road, this morning we cleaned that up. That was,
I saw you.
yeah, that was clogged full.
You'll maintain the same height on the second lake though, right?
Right.
Yes.
That's the takeaway from this meeting.
I'm very familiar with that.
Say that again, so I understand.
The takeaway on this is we're trying to keep the middle section as consistent as we can to what people are used to.
Okay.
The bottom, the lower should take care of itself.
Yeah.
It's the middle and the upper that we're
Well,
trying to,
I'll be honest with you, I fought the beaver for some time, right? I did.
The beaver
And
won.
I-
The beaver won. He's still there.
He works a lot harder than I can. You know, his abilities are, you know, his engineering is.
it's been
is
Beaver,
tremendous.
it's been
Yeah,
Beaver
you
1,
know.
Kent 0 for a while.
Yeah, so, I kind of, you know, I admire the guy. I don't know. I say to myself, keep him around. I mean, I don't care if I have to clean out for the spillway. You know, I really don't. If it makes him happy, you know, he gets a couple of extra sprouts there. Because from what I understand with beavers, yes, they're cutting down, they're eating into trees, but the reason they raise the water level is to get at shoots without leaving the water. So that, you know, but they're not really, so they want to raise the water level for one purpose only, that it increases their smorgasbord, you know, as far as I know.
Any other public?
Comment?
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Stefan Befra. I'm a resident of Town Lake. I'm also on the Kent Lakes Committee. Appreciate that presentation, and I appreciate what you guys are trying to do for our lake. I just want it to be said, and you know, from what I understand, it sounds like we're not going to see any water level drop in that middle lake there. That was a big concern for a lot of my neighbors and I that are here today, because we did a study through the town grant, with the New York State Partnership for Invasive Species Management and found that the mean depth of the lake is only 3.3 feet. It's extremely low, and the maximum was 7.9. So the concern was that if we see any drop in the water level there in that middle lake, we're gonna be living on a swamp. We're gonna have increased mosquitoes, we can't take our boats out, our home values are gonna go down, it's gonna be completely undesirable to live there. So I'm happy to hear that. I hope that, you know, that's how it works out.
It's gonna stay the same height.
Okay.
You know, the outlet where Lake Louise Road is.
Yeah.
That's gonna stay the same exact height, that's not gonna be, you know, it's just the, what I think they're probably gonna do is earthen dam, they're probably gonna widen the spillway. So when it gets to a certain level, it will exit because, it's too narrow right now.
When it gets to that tipping point, it'll breach
Yeah,
over.
the same thing like Marble Dam, that's the same thing, and the Sagamore Lake.
Yeah, if that's the case, I think that's good with most of us. We would love to be included, you know, on further discussions. Is there gonna be a public hearing on it when there's more information, the town or county level?
Part of their presentation was, once the engineering was done, they were gonna come back to the town, I believe, as one of the partners, and present what their findings from the engineering reports
Okay.
show and what the plan is moving forward. Am I correct, Neil?
Yeah, we'll have, as it moves forward, we'll have some designs that we'll be able to pull up, we'll have,
And I think that's important, because I hear a lot of speculation of what we think is gonna happen. We gotta wait till the engineers get out there and shoot the elevations, because we really don't know the elevations, we don't know what the design is gonna be.
With Chris and the county, and just convey what happened tonight.
Well, yeah, and we can do that. We're in touch with Barton and LaJudas on multiple town projects going on and county projects. I mean, this is a reputable, engineering firm that Richie had already
One of my colleagues
enlisted.
works with them, yep.
Right? You had already enlisted him like a year ago.
They did on the Bridge of New York, and I chose them. They're local, they have a lot of projects, they did a really nice job. So we figured instead of getting two different outfits, you know, on the same, basically the same project, we're better off having the same
Sure.
engineering firm.
All right, well, we appreciate it, and Chris, if you can keep me in the loop so that we
Absolutely.
can attend for future meetings, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Any other public comments?
anybody else? No?
I just want to ask a quick question. Just to
Sure.
clarify then with the different statuses, so then you're saying the upper dam, the goal would be to have that be a Class D?
I'm
and
sorry,
then-
The classifications, DEC classifications, what will they be? What's the ultimate
Afterwards.
goal when it's all done for the swamp, the Middle Lake, and Lake Louise? What are
Well, I
the
can't
DEC
speak,
right?
I can't speak to the lower dam or the lower Lake
No, I was
Louise
asking about
crossing, but
upper
the
and
upper
middle.
two, I'm hoping that the engineers come back to me with something that the DEC will allow to be considered an A or a D. I'd prefer, of course, a D, but I'm not sure that we're gonna be able to satisfy, we got a lot of different moving parts here, and I'm not sure I'm gonna get my A or D. But
Yeah, that's what I was
I'm
asking, is
shooting-
if
that's
the
what I'm
upper
shooting
one is
for.
going to be D because you're breaching that deliberately to equalize the levels, and then
Doing
the
it-
middle would be A, hopefully?
The uppermost one, if it's a controlled breach and it becomes what's referred to as a pass-through system,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make an argument that it should be reclassified as a D.
Right.
And they could go with that or not. And the same thing with the middle one. I'm doing this to get an A classification out.
For the middle.
Right. and
Got it, thank
right.
you.
Sure.
Anybody? Guys, anybody else got anything to say on this?
No?
All set?
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Thanks,
Thank
Neil.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, our next item on the agenda is FEMA services. Do you want to handle that one? We have,
Yeah, I just
okay.
I'm a little lost here.
All right, there's just, here you go. This is the only thing we have on it.
Is this Lake
Okay.
Term?
Yep.
Okay, can I get everybody's attention? If you're gonna talk, can you step outside? Thank you.
We'll let everyone leave.
Are bet you brought his briefcase with him.
He did.
Looks like he's got cash in that box.
That's a serious looking briefcase.
It does. What was that show with all that they had the numbers
Deal or
on
No
the...
Deal?
Yeah, Deal or No Deal. I think that's one of the cases.
All right, so our next item, as Jamie said, is a FEMA disaster recovery assistance. We were approached by, well, let's back up a little bit. We were talking to an engineering firm about helping us doing the engineering for Lake Carmel, for the bridge and the stuff that we need to have in the engineering design. And we're still struggling with FEMA. And they recommended a company that they've used and dealt with in other places who actually gives us assistance dealing with FEMA to help us navigate this FEMA process, and their fees are submittable back to FEMA again. And they're the ones that take all the pressure off of us
A no-brainer.
dealing with, I think, our fourth FEMA person on this project now, because they keep quitting.
And we keep getting the new person that hasn't
having
been
to
through
start all
training
over
yet,
again.
so
You know,
they don't know what they're doing, so.
We play Groundhog Day all over again with FEMA. So these people know people in FEMA. I think both of them at one point have worked in FEMA. They're a very reputable company. They're working in New Jersey, New York, I don't know, Connecticut too, I'm not
it's in
sure.
Connecticut, yes.
Either way, we met with them a couple times, and we decided that we're gonna move forward and put a bid out to see if there's anybody else out there. Right now, we're under the dollar threshold using this company, but we need to see if there's any other companies before we can go over that dollar amount that are comparable to them. So this is our bid process tonight to look for FEMA disaster recovery assistance. Any public comment on it? We're hoping, although we're not supposed to be partial, that this is the one that gets the bid.
Well,
'Cause-
what they said to us was that there are other companies out there that do this, but they deal with like New York City or really big areas, not small towns like Kent.
So right now, they are helping us, but we have to stay under the threshold of, what, $3,000, I think, that we're working with them. So right now, in case it goes over in this process. We also were thinking, moving down forward, kind of similar to we do for the engineering bids and stuff, that we put out a bid that can be,
It is professional services, so we're actually going to be seeking proposals. You know, and it's not necessary, we don't have to, if it's a professional service, go out for proposals, but it's highly recommended by the state. So we thought we would just put it out there, see if anybody else even responds. It's highly unlikely that they will, but at least we're making the effort.
yeah. All right, any other questions on it before we?
I'll make, just real quick, is there any exploration with FEMA? Like, in other words, FEMA's been dragging their feet, as you said, through 4 different people.
So-
Do we have any backing to go back to them and say, guys?
So yes,
Yes.
there are dates, and had we had a company like this from the get-go, it probably would have been moving a lot faster. So some of it lays on us for not being really good at doing this, let's be honest about it. It's a very difficult process for, people that don't do it all the time. Some of it lays on the fact that we get conflicting requests for what we have to submit, but there are extensions. And with the right people working for us, we can navigate through this process longer. But there are deadlines that we have to hit. We haven't missed any yet. We've gotten stuff and we've closed some things out. But we want to make sure for the big projects, because the big projects are the ones. We've done, give you an example, we've done debris cleanup. It's all been submitted. The pictures, the locations that it went to, little things like that were easy. We've been able to do in-house. It's these big projects of trying to navigate how much money we're going to get for the Lake Carmel Bridge, how much money we're going to be able to get for the swimming bridge abutments. Those things that we have to have engineered, spec'd out, bid out to a contractor, and have somebody do for us. They help us leverage the amounts we can ask for, because a good way to put it is we could go down there and take a picture of the 2 washed out culverts at Lake Carmel right now and say we're going to replace them exactly the way they are. But in 3 years, when the next 100-year storm hits, because they seem to hit every couple of years, they're going to wash out again. So these people help us mitigate or navigate, or not navigate, what's the word?
Navigate.
Navigate no, it's mitigation, that's what they called it. Mitigate, or put in a system that mitigates the effects of these 100-year storms. it puts in a hardened system or a bigger and better system. And there's dollar amounts that you're allowed to go, percentage amount you're allowed to go over of what it costs just to put the 2 pipes in. But these people know how to go through that system to get the most bang for your buck, the most you can get money you can get out of them for engineering and all that to make it the most hardened system that we can put in. Things that I feel like we could ask for it, but we don't know how to push for it. We don't know the right words to use when you're talking to them. These people will literally be our voice talking to FEMA on the phone. They'll be at every meeting we have with them from now on, so that we get the right requests and say the right things and talk to the right people. I think that's a big one. You know, there's different levels of FEMA, just like there's different levels of every government, and if you're always talking to the guy on the bottom, you never get to the guy on the top. So I think it's a good thing. I hope the board supports it. I was kind of excited that somebody else was going to be helping us through this, you know, instead of just us doing it on our own. We want to move forward. We have our engineer on board. They want to get started on getting our construction designs ready so we can get this thing going. You know, pretty soon we're going to have to buy another bridge because the one that we have stored is going to be 100 years old too. All right. We good on it? Any other questions on it before we move forward?
One quick thing, I do this all the time. Councilman Campbell, I think we talked about this some time ago, about we have all these projects now that are going on simultaneously. Do we have a way to look at and see what the perspective of the project is, or what percentage of it is done or not done? And I assume you folks are handling that, but just from a public perspective, it would be nice to know that we have 40 projects that are out there and, you know, half of them are at 50% complete or something like that. Is that something that's reasonable that we could add?
Yeah, we had talked about having a separate webpage. Frankly, have not had the time and resources to put that together. And I guess one question for that is whether it would just be grant-funded projects or just overall projects that
I'd
we're
like to
working
see
on.
overall on that. Let's call it like, I mean, let's do grant project and capital projects
Yeah.
on a list, and we can kind of guesstimate what the percentage is. You know, stuff like Ritchie's Bridge Louise, we know we're probably at what, 15, 20% on that with everything going on, and hopefully as people can see that progressing. Same with the Lake Carmel projects and our old town hall project. We've
Yeah.
met with engineers and stuff there.
We can try to create something like that.
Yeah, and it's not, I think we could update it like once a month, say, hey, we had 3 more meetings and we're going out to bid, we had another 5% to it. It's not gonna be the most accurate thing, but it shows progress, I believe.
It would be helpful too. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You good?
Yeah, I think
You want me to do this one, Ann, or you wanna do it?
I can do it.
Okay.
I make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the town clerk to advertise for FEMA disaster recovery assistance.
Yeah.
Whereas the town of Kent wishes to advertise for proposals for a company to assist with the FEMA disaster recovery process, and whereas the town board of the town of Kent wishes to authorize its town clerk, Yolanda D. Capelli, to advertise for a company to assist with the FEMA disaster recovery process, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes its town clerk, Yolanda D. Capelli, to advertise for a company to assist with the FEMA disaster recovery process. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our next item on the agenda is the Ryan's Park driveway project. We had our bid opening last week, and we sent everything to Insight Engineering, and Insight Engineering is recommending that we go with Done Right Excavating for a total price of $96,126 for the base, and $37,950 for the additional.
Yes, it's worded in a funny
It's
way
not
here.
right, yeah, in the
It's,
resolution.
no, it's not.
Because it says a total of, that's lower than the base.
Wait, I'm sorry.
The total,
140, hold on a second.
Overall amount of this,
134,076.
and a
Yeah,
total of
that's
this.
the total, right?
The total bid is 134,076. The base bid was 96,126, and the alternate bid is 37,950.
So we just didn't have the total on
Is
here.
it alternate add-on?
Yes.
Yes, and then
So
the
it's, they're to
addendum.
be added together for a total, right?
Yep.
and that's the 134,076.
Yes.
Got it, thank you.
I asked the board that we approve for Done Right Excavating so we can get this project started.
Second.
Well, now you have to read the resolution.
All
Want me
right.
to read it?
So, no, I'm fine with it. Just a quick question when I read this. Am I even gonna, how do I read this again? 96,126 for the base bid, and an addition
And
of
the
37,
alternate.
an
Yeah,
alternate,
call it, yeah, an add-on.
an add-on of 37,950 for a total of $134,076.
That's right.
Okay, got it. Any comments? No. I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution accepting a bid for the Ryan Park driveway entrance improvement projects. Whereas the town of Kent duly advertised for bids for Edward Ryan Memorial Park driveway entrance improvements, and whereas 7 bids were received in response to the advertisement, and the bids were opened and publicly read aloud at the Kent Town Center, and whereas Dunright Excavating submitted the lowest bid in the overall amount of $96,126 for the base bid and $37,950 for add-ons, and a total of $134,076, whereas Insight Engineering Surveying and Landscaping Architecture PC has recommended that the town accept the bid of Dunright Excavating, and whereas the town board wishes to award the bid submitted by the lowest bidder, Dunright Excavating, in the amount of $134,076. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby awards the bid for driveway improvements to Edward Ryan Memorial Park to Dunright Excavating, consistent with the bid proposal in the overall amount of $134,076. And it is further resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes and directs the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did you see it was written unright instead of Dunright? I might kind of stop at that one.
Okay, our next item is April board meeting dates. The board has had discussions about this. There are some conflicts in April, so we are going to change the board meetings in April to the 11th and the 25th. And I know Councilman Tempori and Councilman Boyd are not here, but they are both in agreement with this as well. So this is more just for the public to know that we're moving the dates next month. Everyone good?
Yep.
We don't need a resolution for that.
Nope.
Okay. All right, our next item on the agenda is from the Kent Planning Board. They are asking us to accept a bond in the amount of, so that it's, the amount is wrong on here. It's supposed to be,
11,500.
yeah, it's not, they rounded it down, so it's 11,500 for an erosion.
11,000.
11,500. So they're asking us to accept these bonds.
Good.
It was voted unanimously at the planning board meeting.
You want me to read this?
Yeah, you got it?
Sure.
Thank you.
So I make a motion to adopt a resolution accepting erosion control surety bond and escrow for inspection fee. Whereas the planning board, by resolution number 1 of the year 2023, dated February 9th, 2023, has recommended that the town board accept, 1, an erosion control bond in the amount of $11,515.
No, that's the 11,500.
Oh, I'm sorry, $11,500?
Yep.
Okay. And inspection fees in the amount of, and that's still $1,000?
Yep.
Okay, that's what it is. From the owner of the property located at Smalley Corners Road, Kent, New York, 10512, as shown on the Town of Kent tax map as 21.1-12. And whereas the town board wishes to accept the recommendations as set forth in the planning board resolution number 1 of the year 2023, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby accepts the recommendations of the planning board that an erosion control bond and inspection fee escrow be accepted from the owner of Smalley Corners Road as set forth above. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I ask the board to approve the following vouchers for March 21st, 2023 that were over the threshold. Barton and LaJudas, DPC, $2,070 for the water system, PFOA, PER. Carmel Central School District, $3,182 for gym rental. Chemung Supply Corporation, $15,250 for pipes. Cummings Power Systems, $5,199.50 for truck parts. Hudsonia, $16,351 for the natural resources inventory, which we have a grant for. Interport maintenance, $5,035 for a container. Metal building restoration, $47,417.01 or 1 cent for requisition number 13. Morton Salt, $38,593.49 for road salt. New York State Department of Civil Service, $257,917.74 for health insurance for March. Ring Squared, $3,455.28 for telephone service. Stronghold Industries, $4,044.66 for truck repair. Summit Bobcat, $9,392.92 for truck parts. Thunder Ridge Ski Area, $14,604 for the ski and snowboard program. Transaxle, $15,764.54 for truck parts. Wind Karting, $9,960.19 and $20,984.23 for Lake Carmel garbage. I ask the board to approve the following as read.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I have a few announcements. So last week, one of our residents, who I guess you could say he was the heart of Lake Carmel, passed away, Bob Schwartz. They will be doing a memorial service at Arts on the Lake on April 16th at 4 p.m. So anyone that wants to go and pay their respects, that's what they'll be doing. And then the Kent Police Department had a very rough few days. On Sunday, we had to put K9 Maverick down. And then today, we had to put K9 Radar down. So we're asking that you keep the Kent PD in your thoughts as they're going through this. It's very tough. And also the Ash family and the Vanderwood family, who were the dog's handlers. So a tough week for them. All right, let's see what I have. Anyone interested in the lifeguard class can call Michael, or I'm sorry, you can email Mike O'Brien, mpo818@yahoo.com. Anyone that needs the first aid, CPR, and the certification for lifeguard. Putnam County Youth Bureau Pegasus program. Every Thursday, they are for helping children who have parents with alcohol and drug dependencies. Information, you can call 845-808-1600, extension 46126. And then on Saturday, there is a free rabies vaccine clinic at Veterans Memorial Park from 10 to 12. All you have to do is bring a photo ID and proof of prior rabies vaccinations. And the information, you can call the Department of Health, 845-808-1390, extension 43160. That's all I have.
Okay, I have a few for the library. Well, there's a lot going on there. Please check their website, but a couple that I've noticed. Spring is here. We're starting to think about gardens. And so it's nice to note that on Monday, the 27th, our own Ed Iliano, Master Gardener, will be presenting on gardens. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact title of his talk here on my phone, but he's going to be doing a presentation at 5:30. You can register through the library. And then on the 29th, there's going to be a presentation from somebody from the FDR Library and Garden about Victory Gardens at 6 o'clock to 7, also at the library. And the library continues to offer support with tax preparation on Mondays through the AARP, and for that you can call 211 or 800-899-1479. You don't register through the library for that. It's through the AARP. And do we have an update on the beautification town cleanup at this point? Is that happening?
I can't confirm or deny anything. There hasn't been any contact through Councilman McCoy that I'm aware of to set up a meeting. Walter, I think, and I are trying to get something going, but we just need to obviously coordinate with the councilman.
Okay, so tentative date is still April
22nd.
22nd, the Saturday?
I believe that's the date. That's
Earth Day, yes.
Okay, good to know. And e-waste pickup is going to be here on, or drop-off is going to be here on June 10th, 9 to 12, here at Town Hall for Kent residents.
Thank you.
Right, just on Lake Carmel, we were not able to hold our Lake Carmel Park Advisory Board meeting. This was it last Monday because the weather was predicted to be bad. A lot of the members decided it wasn't worth coming out. But I
I was
want
here.
to. I know Jamie called me and said, "Where are you?" She was the only one here. But I do want to apologize. I've actually talked to a couple residents who planned on being here, and there was no very poor notification that went out to let everybody know it was canceled. So we'll have to work on that, on what kind of a release or even a sign on the door. I was asked to make sure we put up next time, to make sure that people know.
I thought I got all the residents in the parking lot that were starting to go in, and I said no.
So we'll try to do better next time to get everybody notified when we have to cancel at the last minute like that. Hopefully, no more snowstorms predicted. Knock on wood. That's it for me.
All right. Public comment?
I received this letter from DEP, I guess. Are they starting the Easter Hudson septic program again?
So there is a grant funding that's available, or a program that the DEC is putting out.
DEC or DEP?
DEC that I saw, and that was one I saw through the state, correct? And you
Right.
could apply for grants. However, here's the problem. We need, the county has to be lead agency on it. So we need to talk to somebody at the county and say, hey, are you guys gonna go for this? And then if they do set up a program, it can be a 50% match to get up to
It says-
what, $10,000?
$10,000.
But you have to put 50% of the
It says
homeowners.
75%, but it says to reliably deliver a sufficient quantity of high-quality drinking water, New York City has established a variety of ongoing water quality protection initiatives throughout the upstate watershed. Through its east to Hudson, which,
So you know what? I apologize. That's completely different from what I
Okay.
just saw come across my computer. That's a different,
Okay.
that's DEP then.
right, but the county always had the East to Hudson funds, which they did the septic repair program.
Can we see the letter?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just got one too, and I was
But it's
surprised because
different.
we were under the impression that that program is not active.
Right, I just got it.
Yes, I got mine too, yesterday.
You got this one?
So that's
Yes.
not, what I saw was a grant program that the DEC is putting out for septics around, what do they call Lake Carmel and Putnam Lake? They have a name for
Palmer,
it.
yeah, that area.
You know, it's lake communities that are high,
Yeah, there's a number,
This is
2 or 3,
75%.
whatever, yeah.
yeah.
I can just blank all of a sudden.
But it's only for counties to apply for this grant, and then they can distribute 50% of the money out to homeowners in these areas that have, in these lake areas that have,
Well, I just think it's going to be confusing if we really don't know what's going on and people are
It is.
getting these letters. And they've never followed up on the original East of Hudson, where I've said 50 million times, 44 houses around Lake Carmel were put on the septic repair program, and they have a peat system, and those were good for 15 years. And there's nobody at the county that is making sure when these houses are sold or the person, it's been 15 years. So nobody's saying, guess what? You signed a letter stating you got a free septic program and that you have to replace the peat in there, and nobody's done it. So now we're given a letter like this, and now you're saying DEC, but then there's no one watching.
Yeah, I agree that it's a confusing situation. In fact, in our last grant meeting, we were talking about the fact that we thought the East of Hudson program no longer existed, and we were starting to see if there's a way the town could somehow participate in the DEC program, but we saw that the county had to be the lead agency, and now we see these letters coming out. So this is actually on my to-do list. I had actually sent an email to my colleagues here saying, how do we start a conversation about this? We need to know what's going on. So
Well,
that's
I
the
guess
stage we're in
the
right
starting
now.
of the conversation is how much money you have left in the East of Hudson funds.
But
Right.
this says through its East of Hudson septic program.
Right.
That doesn't exist. The county was running that. I remember the
Right.
county running that.
That's what I'm saying.
So
So I'm
who's running it now?
That's why I'm confused.
This is
And it
what
says
we
up
need
to
to know.
75%.
Can I interrupt? I actually called today because I received.
Oh,
the same
good.
letter.
Step right up here. Tell us,
I have
come
one more
here.
question, go ahead.
I don't have a whole lot.
More than we have.
But there are
quite some, I'm going to say, restrictive requirements. That letter, in speaking with Vinnie, who signed the bottom of the letter, spoke with him today, he told me that you must be within 200 feet of the water body or waterway. So that's one of the restrictions. It is a reimbursement program, and it's purely based on your household income. So depending on what your level of income is to the household determines whether you are at a maximum of 75% and could even be below the 50%.
There's a little number right here, and then when you go to the bottom in teeny tiny letters, it says, please see the program plan for additional detail on eligibility and reimbursement, which I'm assuming was not enclosed in the envelope.
I'll tell the public, as I mentioned, I spoke with Vinnie this morning. He was very informative of what was going on, and that, I guess, brochure, program that you're talking about, if you actually call that number that's on that letter, he told me he would share the actual plans, the specific plans and requirements that need to be met with anybody. He'll share them in an email back to you once you make contact with
I
him.
wonder if it's worth getting them and putting them on our town website. Just 'cause-
I'm gonna take a picture of this just so that
Yeah.
I have the information. Oh, I can, okay.
Thank you, that was much more informative.
Addressed to
Okay.
me personally, it's to the resident.
So 200 feet away from the lake isn't
Well, it
very
was
far.
100 in the beginning, then it was 2, and then it was supposed to be 300, and then,
Yeah.
you know, that's when the county was doing it,
Right.
and then it stopped.
Is this
again.
all lake communities within the town of Kent?
In
Or
the
is it
beginning,
specific to
was-
just a certain
At
area?
that time, I think it was Lake Carmel because of, you know, the.
I mean, this one
East
right now,
Hudson.
obviously, they're
Oh, I don't know,
renewing
I
this
don't know,
one.
did anybody else get, you got the letter, so I guess everybody in the town got the letter.
I mean,
I didn't get one.
You're close to the reservoir's down the road a little ways.
he literally looked up, as I was talking to him on the phone, looked up, I guess, in IMAX, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it or not,
Yeah.
and had a measurement, and he said, oh, your house is 155 feet from the lake, so you would qualify.
There
Yeah,
you go.
he brought it right up.
Wow.
Thank you.
I'm off Kentwood and I got one, but we did this about 5 years ago with them, so we can't do it again.
You only
And my
get one.
other question is, did you get a report yet on the Lake Carmel Community Center?
We got our asbestos reports back. There's asbestos there,
Well, we knew that.
but now we know where it is. So our next step is to go out and get a quote for removal.
Of the whole building?
No, of the asbestos. Either way, we gotta take that down before we can have if we fix the building, we gotta remove the asbestos. If we demo the building, we gotta remove the asbestos before a demo company will take it out. Because asbestos removal company is a completely different company than a demo company.
Okay, so are we going to know how much it's going to cost to, I know the asbestos part, but how much it is going to cost to
Okay.
fix? Because it's been laying for 2 years.
We've also engaged, but not officially engaged, we've had a conversation with one of our engineering firms that's on retainer to give us a two-pronged, estimate of complete tear down or,
Repair.
remodeling, repair, or upgrading of that building. Because it was very preliminary, they haven't even seen the building yet. It was literally, we were meeting on a different topic with a company that we can use and said, is this something your company would be willing to spearhead? And he said, yeah, but he's gotta get the right people in his company to get in touch with us to go out there one day and start that conversation, so yes.
Okay,
All right.
so we're going to move
But I
down.
did tell him one way or the other, we're taking the asbestos out.
Right,
And when you find out where the asbestos is coming out of, there's not gonna be much left.
of the building, so, like I
Might not
said,
be
take it
windows.
down and
There
put
might
it
not
up.
be windows or floors left on the building. Certainly no siding.
Bob Ulick, I guess I didn't say it before, I apologize. Just one quick question. In the letter from Insight, in reference to the Ryan Park project that's going on, it specifically states in there that Dunright is going to start that project upon completion of the walking path. So my question is, do we have any idea what that date's going to be for the residents?
So they didn't give us a specific date, it's weather permitting. They want to get in there first thing this spring.
Okay.
And they want to knock that out, and then, because they're the same ones that got the bid, they said they need to finish the park walking path before they go over to Ryan's Park.
Great, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Any other public comment? I make a motion that we adjourn to executive session
Second.
for,
Personnel.
personnel. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.